Be still for a moment, not outwardly still, but inwardly silent. Let the noise settle. Let the inner movement slow. Because what you are about to hear is not designed to lift your mood or soothe your fears. It is not here to excite you or make you feel hopeful for a few fleeting minutes. It is here to confront you. It is here to strip away the comforting illusions you have carried quietly for years. You have reached a point in life where comfort has begun to poison clarity. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but slowly and politely. Comfort did not attack you. It settled in beside you. It taught you how to survive without progressing, how to exist without commanding your direction. You wake up. You move through the day. You earn enough to continue. You speak the necessary words. You repeat the familiar motions. And at night, you tell yourself that tomorrow will be different. Years pass like this. Calendars turn. Faces age. Hair grays. Yet the inner man remains unchanged. Different scenes surround you, but the decisions are the same. Different dreams visit your mind, but hesitation always has the final word. You were told that time would fix what discipline refused to face. That patience alone would mature you into strength. That love would soften life's sharp edges, or that money would eventually arrive if you waited long enough, worked a little harder, endured a little more. These were not lies spoken with cruelty. They were far more dangerous than that. They were lies spoken with kindness, with reassurance, with a gentle tone that asked nothing difficult of you. And softness has cost you years. Most people do not fail because they lack intelligence, talent, or opportunity. They fail because they refuse to decide who they are willing to become. They want change without discomfort. They want growth without sacrifice. They want results without an identity transformation. They want the harvest without the burial of the old self. They want reward without issuing command over their own nature. And so they repeat the same year, again and again and again. Understand this truth, and understand it completely, without resistance and without negotiation. There is nothing in your life that is confused. What appears unclear is not the world, not circumstances, not fate. It is you. Nothing around you is accidental. No result you are living with arrived by mistake. Every condition, every limitation, every repeated outcome has been shaped by choices made, choices avoided, or choices delayed. And there is nothing undecided in your life except the one who is living it. Time does not change men. Time only reveals them. Years do not build strength, and age does not grant wisdom by default. A man can grow older without growing stronger, busier without becoming effective, experience without becoming decisive. Motivation does not change men either. Motivation is emotional, and emotion is unstable. It rises and falls, speaks loudly, then disappears without explanation. Luck does not change men. Luck visits the unprepared and leaves them exactly as it found them. Resolutions do not change men. Resolutions are spoken with hope, not enforced with authority. Only a final inner decision changes a man. You know this because you have lived the opposite. You have made promises to yourself, quiet promises that no one else heard. Promises formed in moments of honesty, whispered late at night, when the distractions were gone and regret sat beside you in silence. In those moments, you saw yourself clearly. You knew what needed to end. You knew what needed to begin. And yet, when morning came, authority was postponed. You said soon, as if time itself owed you cooperation. You said, when things are right, as if conditions create character. You said, after this phase, as if life has scheduled pauses for transformation. Each delay felt reasonable. Each excuse sounded intelligent. And life listened carefully to every word you spoke. Then life did nothing. It did not punish you. It did not reward you. It simply continued to reflect your level of command. Because life does not respond to wishes. It does not bend to hope. It does not negotiate with intention. Life responds only to authority. It responds to the man who decides and does not retreat from his own word. Until you issue that command within yourself, nothing outside of you will move. Now we arrive at the line you cannot cross casually. This is not a moment for curiosity or temporary resolve. This is a boundary that separates those who transform from those who only talk about it. On one side of this line is the familiar weight of who you have been. On the other side is the unknown responsibility of who you must become. Most men approach this line many times in their lives, feel its gravity, and then step back, convincing themselves that crossing it can wait. Every new beginning demands a death, not a symbolic gesture, not poetic language meant to sound profound, a real execution of the old self. The version of you that survives on habit, fear, and emotional compromise cannot be carried forward. It cannot be refined, coached, or gently redirected. It must end completely. The man you have been must be buried, not corrected, not improved, buried. He must be lowered into the ground along with his excuses, his rationalizations, his need for approval, his fear of disapproval, his emotional confusion, and his divided loyalty. All of it must go with him. Nothing is to be kept as a souvenir. Nothing is to be preserved just in case. He must not be allowed to speak again, because his voice is familiar and persuasive. He must not be allowed to vote again, because his decisions always lead back to comfort. He must not be allowed to advise you again, because his counsel is rooted in survival, not command. If he is allowed to whisper, he will sabotage everything you attempt to build. You cannot build a throne while keeping chains. You cannot rise while dragging a shadow that belongs to a former life. You cannot command a future while secretly protecting a past that has already proven its limits. Authority and attachment cannot coexist. One cancels the other. Many men reach this moment and hesitate. They stand at the grave of their old identity and feel the weight of what must be lost. They want resurrection without crucifixion. They want rebirth without sacrifice. They want transformation without grief. And because they refuse the cost, they retreat into familiarity, and so they remain exactly as they are. Now listen carefully. This is not a moment for defense or explanation. This is a moment for recognition. Nothing is being accused here that you have not already admitted to yourself in quiet moments. You have delayed. Not once, not accidentally, but repeatedly. You have felt the moment of decision rise within you, and you have stepped away from it. You have doubted, not because evidence was missing, but because certainty would have demanded action. You have chosen safety over direction. You chose what felt familiar instead of what felt true. You chose the known discomfort over the unknown responsibility. You have chosen comfort over clarity because clarity would have stripped away your excuses and left you alone with choice. You have chosen emotional relief over permanent power, soothing yourself in the short term while weakening yourself in the long term. Consider how many times you knew exactly what needed to be done. Not vaguely, not eventually. Exactly. You felt it with precision. The decision was clear, the next step obvious. And yet you did not act. You postponed. You distracted yourself. You waited for the feeling to pass, and it did. But the cost remained. How many times did you feel the call to change direction, to speak the truth, to end what was draining you, to begin what demanded courage, and you delayed it? How many times did fear approach you wearing the disguise of logic, presenting itself as patience, responsibility, or careful planning? How often did fear speak calmly and sound reasonable, convincing you that now was not the right time? Understand this: fear rarely shouts, it persuades. It sounds intelligent. It presents itself as wisdom while quietly preserving weakness. And you listen. How long will you continue to negotiate with the very habits that are killing your potential? How long will you allow patterns that have already proven their limits to continue ruling your future? How long will you treat your own power as something to be discussed rather than exercised? Do not answer quickly. Do not answer emotionally. Answer honestly. Not aloud, not for anyone else, not to appear strong or resolved. Answer within. Because the truth you admit to yourself in silence is the beginning of authority. There is a law that governs all transformation, and it operates whether you acknowledge it or not. It is indifferent to your feelings, unmoved by your intentions, and immune to your explanations. Life does not improvise its outcomes. It follows order. It follows principle. Life changes by law, not by chance. And the law that stands above all others is this definiteness of decision. Nothing meaningful begins until something final is decided, not hoped for, not discussed. Decided. Definiteness is not emotional intensity, it is inner finality. It is the moment when debate ends and authority begins. Until that moment, energy leaks in every direction, and effort produces noise instead of results. Not many goals, not many desires, not a scattered list meant to make you feel productive. One ruling decree. One dominant decision that governs behavior, thought, and action. When the inner command is singular, the mind aligns. When the command is divided, the will collapses under its own weight. A divided mind is a defeated mind. It cannot move forward with force because part of it is always pulling backward. You cannot serve two masters within yourself. One will always weaken the other. You cannot worship comfort and command destiny at the same time. Comfort demands safety. Destiny demands authority. The two speak different languages and require different sacrifices. You also cannot chase love's approval while demanding money's obedience. Approval seeks permission. Wealth responds to command. One asks to be accepted. The other obeys strength and clarity. When your inner world is divided between being liked and being effective, effectiveness always loses. This is why the choice before you is not gentle. It is not soft. It is not polite. It does not offer a compromise that allows you to keep everything you are attached to. It does not say balance, because balance is often a disguise for avoidance. It says decide. Decide who rules within you. Decide what you serve. Decide what ends and what begins. Indecision is not harmless. It is costly. It drains time, energy, respect, and opportunity. It keeps you busy without progress and hopeful without power. Indecision is the most expensive luxury a man can afford because it charges you everything and gives you nothing in return. Here is the decree. It does not arrive with decoration or explanation. It is not softened to make it easier to accept. It is short because power does not explain itself, and authority does not argue its position. Length belongs to persuasion. Brevity belongs to command. I decide and my life obeys. These words are not meant to sound comforting. They are meant to establish order. They place you back where you were always meant to stand, at the center of your own direction. This is not a sentence to be admired. It is a sentence to be assumed, repeated, and enforced. Say it again within yourself, not loudly, not emotionally, calmly, firmly, without hesitation. I decide and my life obeys. At first, it may feel unfamiliar. The mind that has lived in negotiation will resist authority. Old habits will question it. Past failures will attempt to speak. Let them pass without engagement. You are not here to debate. You are here to install a new command. Repeat it until it no longer feels like language and begins to feel like position. Repeat it until it settles beneath thought, beneath emotion, beneath mood. Repeat it until it becomes the quiet assumption behind every action you take. Authority is not something you announce to the world. It is something the world detects because it is consistent. This is not affirmation. Affirmations seek to convince. They attempt to overwrite doubt with repetition alone. This is something else entirely. This is installation of authority. Authority does not ask permission from fear. It does not wait for confidence to arrive. It acts first, and confidence follows as a byproduct of obedience. When belief becomes instinct, hesitation dies. There is no argument, no delay, no internal discussion. The decision has already been made, and the body moves to carry it out. This is how decisive men operate. They are not reckless. They are resolved. They do not rush. They do not stall. They execute. The decree is not something you say once and forget. It is something you return to whenever the mind attempts to fracture, whenever doubt reappears in familiar disguises. Each repetition strengthens the chain of command within you. I decide, and my life obeys. Say it until your actions confirm it. Now comes discipline, not the dramatic kind that seeks recognition, but the quiet kind that restores order. Discipline is not punishment. It is alignment. It is the process by which authority is enforced within the mind. This is where transformation becomes permanent because without discipline, decisions decay. Mental purification is required. Your mind has been overcrowded for years. Doubt has taken residence. Fear has been given a voice. Emotional noise has filled the space where clarity should live. Borrowed opinions, other people's limits, warnings, and unresolved failures have been allowed to sit in your thoughts as if they belong there. They do not, and they must be removed. This removal is not loud. It is not violent. It is silent and firm. There is no argument, no explanation, no justification. Disorder is not negotiated with. It is eliminated. You must learn to interrupt weakness the moment it appears. Weakness does not always arrive as despair. Often it arrives as overthinking, as hesitation, as a sudden need for reassurance. You must learn to refuse inner arguments. The moment you begin debating whether you should act, you have already surrendered authority. A decisive mind does not hold hearings. It issues orders. End conversations with fear before they begin. Do not allow fear to finish its sentences. Fear survives through dialogue. It grows stronger the longer it is entertained. The disciplined mind does not ask fear for advice. It does not seek permission from anxiety. It moves forward and lets fear fall behind. A disciplined man does not debate himself. He commands himself. He decides what will be thought, what will be ignored, and what will be acted upon. His inner world is not a democracy. It is a hierarchy. And at the top of that hierarchy stands a single ruling decree. Thoughts that do not serve the decree are dismissed, not fought. Fighting gives them importance. Fighting gives them time. Dismissal is cleaner. It is immediate. The thought appears, is recognized as irrelevant, and is removed without ceremony. This is cleanliness of mind, and cleanliness always precedes power. A cluttered mind cannot hold authority. A noisy mind cannot issue clear commands. When the mind is purified, action becomes simple, direct, and exact. Discipline does not make life heavier. It makes life lighter by removing everything that does not belong. History does not reward the talented. Talent is common. Potential is everywhere. Ability exists in abundance and is wasted daily. History records something far rarer. It records the men who decided, not the men who waited to feel ready, not the men who waited for confidence, permission, or favorable conditions. The pages of history are written by those who issued a final inner command and refused to withdraw it. Edison did not wait for belief before acting. Belief followed action. He decided to persist when evidence suggested failure. He decided that discouragement would not outrank purpose. Ford did not wait for approval. He decided in the face of ridicule and resistance. When others laughed, he did not explain. He continued. Carnegie did not wait for certainty. He decided while outcomes were still unclear, while risks were still real. He trusted decisiveness more than prediction. Lincoln did not wait for peace. He decided while the nation was divided, while pressure surrounded him, while criticism followed every move. He chose direction over comfort. Napoleon Hill observed this truth repeatedly across the lives of powerful men. Not once, not occasionally, but consistently. Men who command their inner world eventually command circumstances. Those who hesitate internally are overruled externally. Life mirrors the level of authority a man holds over himself. These men were not loud. They did not announce themselves. They did not rely on emotion to fuel them. They were not rushed, because haste is often insecurity disguised as action. They were not reactive, because reaction surrenders control. They moved with deliberateness, with calm, with certainty rooted in decision, not feeling. They understood that power begins inside, before strategy, before resources, before recognition. They issued a final order within themselves, and that order governed behavior regardless of mood or resistance. Once decided, there was no internal debate. There was execution. They did not eliminate fear. They outranked it. They did not eliminate doubt. They refused to consult it. This is the distinction that separates men who are remembered from men who are forgotten. The decided man moves while others prepare. He persists while others reconsider. He stands while others retreat. History does not ask how you felt. It records what you did after you decided. When this happens, others will feel it. not because you announce a change or demand recognition for it, but because something fundamental has shifted beneath the surface. Authority does not advertise itself, it alters presence. You no longer feel the need to explain who you are becoming or justify the direction you have chosen. Explanation belongs to uncertainty. Silence belongs to resolve. Your voice becomes slower, not because you are trying to sound controlled, but because urgency has left you. You are no longer racing against doubt. Your words become fewer because you no longer speak to be understood or approved. You speak only when there is purpose. And when you do, what you say carries weight because it is supported by action. Your movements become exact. There is no excess, no waste, no nervous motion. Precision replaces effort. You do not argue because argument assumes the possibility of retreat. You do not chase because chasing reveals need. You do not convince because convincing seeks agreement. Authority does not seek agreement. Authority operates. This is why authority has no interest in persuasion. Persuasion belongs to those who are still negotiating their position. Once the decision is final, persuasion becomes irrelevant. You move forward, and reality adjusts or removes itself from your path. People will sense that something has ended in you. They may not be able to name it. They will feel it in the way you listen without reacting, in the way you decline without guilt, in the way you commit without hesitation. Old patterns of behavior fall away. Old explanations disappear. Old emotional reflexes lose their power. And something has begun, not loudly, not dramatically, but unmistakably. A calm certainty replaces restless effort. Confidence becomes quiet. Presence becomes grounded. You no longer seek validation because your direction has already been validated by your own command. Some will be uncomfortable around this. Others will respect it instinctively. A few will test it. None of that matters. Authority does not adjust itself to be received. It stands. This is how transformation becomes visible without being declared. This is how leadership announces itself without words. When the inner war ends, the outer world feels the silence. Here is the final law. It is not new, and it is not negotiable. It has governed the rise and fall of men long before your time and will continue long after you are gone. It does not bend for good intentions, and it does not pause for hesitation. This law stands whether you acknowledge it or not. Destiny does not respond to hope. Hope is passive. It waits. It looks outward and asks circumstances to change first. Hope can comfort a man, but it cannot move him forward. Destiny does not respond to need either. Need is desperate and reactive. It signals lack, not authority. The world does not reorganize itself around those who need. It yields to those who command. Destiny also does not respond to emotion. Emotion rises and falls with circumstance. It is unstable, inconsistent, and easily influenced. Emotion may fuel movement for a moment, but it cannot sustain direction. Destiny responds only to command. Command is calm. Command is final. Command does not ask permission, and it does not explain itself. Command assumes responsibility for outcome and accepts consequence without complaint. When a man commands his direction, life begins to align around that certainty. Opportunities appear not as gifts, but as responses. Obstacles reveal themselves not as punishment, but as tests of resolve. This is why indecision is so costly. It leaves no command for destiny to respond to. A man who refuses to decide believes he is keeping options open. In truth, he is surrendering control. While he waits, life continues, momentum passes, and circumstances harden around his hesitation. Understand this: clearly refusing to decide is itself a decision. It is a silent decree that says, let things remain as they are. It is a vote for familiarity, for repetition, for the known limits of the past. The man who delays choice is not neutral. He has already chosen to remain unchanged. There is no punishment in this law. There is only reflection. Life mirrors the level of authority you exercise within yourself. When command is absent, life remains indifferent. When command is present, life responds with precision. This is the verdict. Destiny obeys authority, not intention. And the man who will not decide has already delivered judgment upon himself.